Hello, welcome to my second work in progress video of the project Wisdom of the Lost Folk in AR. Today, I'm gonna discuss my development for the project so far. So to start off, I'm gonna talk about how I develop the visual aspect of the project. My goal is to create a whimsical reality that immerses users in the folk art painting style and folklore creatures, and I have to create a cohesive visual style to the entire AR experience, tying together the creature's environment and interface into a unified whole. The key initiatives are to create stylized 3D models that stay true to the original Domho painting style, use animation to bring the creatures to life, experiment with different color palettes and textures, incorporate traditional Vietnamese culture symbols, patterns to further emphasize the cultural identity of the project, and to experiment with different particle and environmental effects, post-processing effects, and camera filters to add a unique visual flair to the AR experience. This is the mood board that I generate. The folk paintings will serve as the main inspiration for the visuals, incorporating the bright colors and intricate patterns and textures that are commonly seen in these paintings. The other aspect that I want to stress is the playful and whimsical nature of the design. It will create an engaging and memorable experience for the users while also promoting the project's mission of preserving and celebrating our cultural heritage. So in this mood board that you're seeing, I have included the images of traditional Domho paintings, the photos of the painting village, the illustrations of the creature that will be featured, the concept art of the AR environment generated by Midjourney AI, the color palette that is inspired by Domho paintings, samples of the paintings, patterns and textures, and some mood images showcasing the playful and whimsical nature of the experience, also generated by AI. For the color direction of the project, the primary source of the inspiration is Domho paintings, and the colors used in these paintings are earthy, rustic, and derived from natural elements to reflect the local culture and traditions. But I also consider another color scheme that consists of brighter tones and evoke a sense of energy and excitement. Even when it's bright, I will consider adding a tint of like a washed out look to resemble the effect of water paints. Overall, the colors that I will use will be a blend of contemporary and traditional elements, and it must be visually appealing and complement the overall design. I will continue developing and refining the color palette as the project progresses to ensure that the experience will be immersive and engaging and showcase Vietnamese culture's beauty and richness. So these are the two palettes that I just mentioned, and I also put the keywords that describe the palette. So this first one is natural, traditional, rustic, and modest. The second one is modern, energetic, youthful, and exciting. For the typography of the project, I will experiment with different types of typography because it plays a crucial role in shaping the visual identity of the project. I will look at factors such as legibility, readability, and the overall visual impact to determine which option works best. I will be seeking feedback from peers and other Vietnamese users to ensure that the chosen font and typeface align with the project's goals. By carefully considering the cultural and historical context of the project, I hope to create a unique and impactful visual experience for users. So the first font and typeface option is inspired by Vietnamese calligraphy style, which is characterized by flowing, elegant lines and traditional feel. This font will emphasize the cultural significance of the Dong Ho art style and to convey a sense of history and tradition. The other font is named and inspired by Đổi Mới, which is the renovation period in Vietnam, marked by economic and social reforms. This font will have a modern feel with sharp edges and bold, clean lines to convey a sense of progress and innovation. By using this font, I aim to capture the spirit of innovation and change that characterizes period and to create a sense of forward momentum in the project. So these are the typography applied in UI. This is the first choice, and this is the second choice with a more modern feel. I also generate some initial logo ideas, some branding ideas, concept art, these cultural symbols that each painting will provide. Yes, and small concept art. For the interactive development of the project, I have narrowed down into these 6 elements of interactivity. First is gamification. Second is social media sharing. Third is sound design. I will incorporate traditional Vietnamese music and sound effects into the AR experience to further immerse users in the cultural world of Vietnam. Third is mood and tone customization. So implementing post-processing filter effect maybe, and AR markers to allow the creatures to interact with the real world in a creative way, popping up unexpectedly. And the other added feature is the responsive touch, command, and haptic feedback. So this will be a very playful feature that's included in the app, so allow users to feel physical sensations in response to their interactions with the AR environment. For the sound design, I have generated a sound map, and the sound effects should enhance the movements and actions of the creatures, make them feel more realistic and engaging. I will also incorporate traditional Vietnamese music and sound effects like flute and countryside background ambient sound, in hope that the sound design would transport users into a different world and bring the creatures to life, that is in a way that is both engaging and educational. Yes, I have generated this sound so that when I apply these sound effects into the prototype, I have a clear structure of what sound to look for and how many sounds do I have in this project. So now I will talk about the development aspect of the project, which includes 3D development and the app Unity development. The process of my 3D development is outlined here, which first includes modeling in Maya and then texturing it by painting it in 3D using iPad Pencil in Procreate. And then 3D rigging, which I quickly rig the animal, and animation using humanoid animation in Missimo. So for the 3D modeling phase, I sketch out the overall form firstly, then I start the modeling process. to mimic the shape and proportions of the pig. After several rounds of revisions and adjustments, I was able to create a 3D asset model of the Domho pig that closely resembled the reference image that I have. After modeling, I want to start thinking about how I can translate these unique textures into these model skin. And I have found out a tool called Procreate in iPad that allows me to import a 3D model into the software and able to use the iPad brushes to paint the creatures in 3D. That is very wonderful. That technology can help me to do that so far. And I experiment with different brushes, outlining the black details and adding more textures and colors into it, and finishing the model off by applying like a very unique, shiny porcelain skin texture to the 3D pig. And once the painting is complete in Procreate and iPad, I export the 3D model with the texture map back into my 3D software for it to be animated and rigged. After texturing, I want to rig my animals in the least time-consuming way. So I looked up a tutorial in how to quickly rig a quadruped in Maya, and I quickly rigged the pig using the humanoid joints. And after that, I was thinking, if they're using the humanoid joints, should I just try to put this rigged 3D pig into Mixamo to see if it can be, if the humanoid animations can be applied into the pigs? And very funny, it works for the first time, but it's not very stable. So I tested out different animations I found on Mixamo and picked 3 animations that I feel like needed in my AR experience to describe the 3 stages of the pigs in the AR, which includes the pigs when it's just exploring the 3D world, the pigs when being grabbed and interacted with human, and the pigs when it's being released back into the paintings. So this is some of the animation that I have picked. First is low crawl. Second is moving while hanging. And I have to adjust these little bit of settings here in order to make sure that it's looping and it looks the way I want it. That is really funny. It's falling flat. This animation is used when the pig is being released by human interaction and when it's being put back into the painting. So the reflection of my 3D process, I think the way I am able to texture the pig in Procreate iPad has been a successful test, and it's very natural and it's very intuitive, and it allows me to be very creative and detailed with these hand-painted textures, and it also sparks a few ideas for the project's directions moving forward into the next stages in the future, like organizing community workshops, DIY, and interactive exhibition. On the other side, the process of rigging the Domho pig and then using humanoid animation in Mixamo is very tricky, and it won't work all the time because of how the quadruped rigging is so different than humanoid rigging. So I will note that down, and for the other animations of other animals, I will consider a different approach and keep testing out. So for the app UX UI prototypes, I have generated 2 prototypes with different typography that I introduced earlier. And yeah, this is the process. First is the introduction screen, and then I ask the user what year they born, and then the paintings of the pig show, and then users get transported into the AR scene. These are the notes that me and my developers have noted down for the approach of our to program our prototypes in Unity, which includes plane trackers, plane lists, game managers, components, and for the methods for creature interactions. We have these components like haptics feedback and the collision when the creatures comes in contact with the painting. After the first prototype, we realized we need to fix the haptic, and we need to test the AR experience in different spaces using different phones and cameras, because it's either the camera quality of different models of the phone, or it's the issue of the space that it doesn't work consistently among different spaces that we have tested. So these are some updates that we have noted for the next prototype, including updated AR position, retrieved method, and game targets. Incorporate the 3D assets that I've just created and the textures of it into Unity. Incorporating the animation FBX file I just created into the system for the creatures with different states like idle, hanging idle, and release. Custom painting shader. When the collision happens when the pig comes in contact with the painting. This is the shader in action. And note down some graphical improvements that we've made. These are the different prototypes iteration. So for the first proof of concept prototype, design and UI, it is important to note that only the initial zodiac birth has been included. And however, in this experience, users will be treated to more immersive with 12 zodiac birth animals will float in the scene simultaneously, and it will be more challenging for players to define correct actions. So the other thing to note is Did you know the yin-yang pigs in the Domho painting symbolize balance and harmony between opposing forces in the universe? The fat pigs represent prosperity, abundance, and good luck in Vietnamese culture. So the next steps of my project will be making storyboards and more 3D production and gather feedback from peers and my mentors. The storyboards will be an important tool because when the apps comes into the next stage, it involves a wider range of animals, and it will be much easier for my developer to imagine using visual cues. And it will also help me to stay organized and on task throughout the development process. The next iterations that I will do is to, like I just mentioned, change the painting style to result in a cleaner look. For the animal animation, I will consider putting more of the floating flying movements to the animal instead of it sticking to the surface to create more whimsical animation, and adding some subtle animation into the 2D animal in the painting at the end to create a playful and charming touch to the overall look. For the animation method for future animals, I will make it a little bit more subtle and focus on specific details such as the eyes or the tail rather than the entire body, which will make the process less time consuming, more nuanced, but more elegant as well. For the sound, I will try to make the animal sound a little bit more playful and less aggressive, like cartoonish. It will create a more lighthearted and fun atmosphere. And for the game flow, after earning the first badge, Harmony badge, like in the prototype I just showed, the app will introduce the other 11 badges for the users to collect, and then it would allow the process to loop continuously until the user earn and learn and collect all badges. It's my reference list, and thank you for listening to this work in progress video. I'll see you in the next one.